My name is Joanne Griffiths. My great-grandmother was Grace Kelly, the younger sister of Ned Kelly. And this is the site where the Glenrowan Inn once stood. In this place and in that battle, the iconic Kelly armour was made famous. And what happened over that weekend, Saturday 26th of June to Monday 28th of June 1880, has become part of Australian history and law. We had planned a series of events, but now, with social distancing, we've produced this video to bring a small piece of Glenrowan to anyone who can't visit on this 140th anniversary.
I think one of the things in the Kelly story that is often overlooked and needs to be told is the role of the police in the immediate aftermath of the siege and the execution. Because the northeast, and particularly this district, was facing a real crisis. Jim Kelly's about to come home. The police party's been turned back and they tried to crash the wake by armed men, and you've got the superintendent in the district who's in charge receiving orders from Melbourne that no matter what you do, arrest them on any charge whatsoever. So you've got this bloke who's had police reinforcements withdrawn from the region, facing orders from Melbourne to take a very punitive approach to the situation. His name was John Sadler. Now he's the superintendent of the North Eastern District, and when the outbreak began he was superseded by his superior superintendents both here and Nicholson, who told him, "This is none of your business, you just look after regional affairs, we'll do this," which was a nonsense because it was a cut across regional affairs all the time. And he was so sidelined that he often found out what was happening from the rank and file. So his approach to the troop, to his men, was monitor. Don't approach, don't harass, monitor. He's called to Melbourne to testify before the Royal Commission and is removed from duty. Inspector Montfort takes over, and Montfort again receives instructions: arrest them on any petty offence you can, we've got to take a really hardline approach to this lot. And Montfort ignores the instructions from Melbourne. His instructions are the same: monitor, keep your distance, don't aggravate. He was called to Melbourne to give evidence before the Royal Commission behind closed doors, and he said, "You are facing a very grave situation here." And so his basic strategy was continuing sadly as a policy, but waiting until the shearing season took most of the hotheads, as he called them, away. So if the police, if Sadlier and Montfort had followed orders from Melbourne, Jim Kelly coming home, God alone knows what would have happened. But Montfort said, if it starts again, it'll be far worse than the Kelly outbreak. So they were two men whose role is often overlooked. The third one only came to light through the work of Ian Jones, and that was Constable Graham. When the siege was over and Ned was executed, the police found it very difficult to find someone who would fill the position here in the police station at Glenrowan. So the police transfer poor old Graham from Colac, recently engaged, and sent him up here. Now he knows what the Sadler's Montfort policy is about. And he looks around and he says, what in blue blazes can I do here? And he takes the most unorthodox step anyone had ever taken. He goes and visits Mrs. Kelly. Now this woman, the only time the police have turned up on her doorstep when he passed, has been trouble. This bloke comes and says, come out for a chat. Now what was said between them, no one knows. But certainly some sort of rapport was struck between him and Mrs. Kelly. The third man who's worth mentioning is the only policeman who was sacked from the police force for being a Kelly sympathiser. It was Constable Arthur. After Constable Hall pistol whipped the young Ned Kelly from Greta, he was so afraid that Kelly's friends would try and rescue him. He sent to Benalla for reinforcements. They sent out Arthur, who escorted Hall and the wounded prisoner and back to Benalla. And Arthur thought he was just a joke. At the Siege of Glenrowan, when Steele was firing his shotgun at Mrs. Reardon, who was emerging from the hotel and couldn't raise her hands because she was carrying a baby, Arthur said to him, you take one more shot and I'll shoot you. After the deployment, Arthur's back in Melbourne in the depot, and he's silly enough to say to a colleague, or to several colleagues, that he thought the root cause of the killing outbreak lay in overzealous police attention to the family, that they were confusing the family with the clan and with a whole lot of other things. And he said that was the root cause of it. And he was sacked for being a Kelly sympathiser. So they're just 4 examples of the way the police behaved during the outbreak, which tends to move the story, I think, more towards a more realistic appraisal of what was going on in the northeast at the time.
Basically, you were asking about the significance of the 140th anniversary of Glenrowan, and as far as I'm concerned, it marked the climax of the Kelly outbreak. And the start of something which is far more significant historically, which is the Kelly legend. And what strikes me about that is it has a chameleon quality. It changes over time. Each generation will lay some different emphasis on aspects of that very powerful story. So in the immediate aftermath of Glenrowan and the execution, the 2 elements that were most stressed were, 1, a sense of injustice, but secondly, and more importantly, family. His commitment to his mother in particular. And you see the first genesis of that with Mrs. Scott, the bank manager's wife at Euroa, who, when she was writing her recollections about it and talking to Superintendent Hare about it, made it abundantly clear that was what she most admired. Then you get to the Great War and the men in the trenches on the Western Front. And there's something quite different in the legend emerges, and that's mateship, loyalty and defiance. So Kelly coming back to rescue his brother and his mates resonated deeply with the diggers in the trenches, because it was mirroring their own experience. You got my back, I've got yours. And they were facing, in many cases, a futile exercise in trench warfare. Then by the 1930s, a different picture emerges, and this is one of Ned Kelly as the battler. Poverty, struggle, trying to make ends meet the best way you can. And often you'll see in folk anthologies a song. Ned Kelly was born in a ramshackle hut. He battled since he was a kid. It's not a folk song. It was written by Tex Morton, but it captured that shift in the emphasis in the Kelly legend. Come the 60s, the Irish component emerges, the Irish rebellious component emerges, and there are links with Peter Lawler and with Eureka. And to my mind, this is the period when Irish Australians begin to reclaim a place in Australian history beyond Paddy and Bridget, the caricatures of the unwashed, ill-spoken Irish of the 19th century. Now, officialdom had never had much time for the Kellys, as you might expect. But in the centenary in 1980, that resolve, or whatever you want to call it, seemed to weaken a bit, because to commemorate the centenary, Australia Post issues a stamped envelope with Ned Kelly on it. Now, the thought of doing that in 1880 would have produced apoplexy in the establishment. And then you get what to me is a curious, almost moving to respectability, almost rehabilitation, with the opening of the Sydney Olympic Games. And 100 Ned Kellys march across the arena during that opening ceremony. And I've no doubt that the international audience had no idea of what that was. But the Australian audiences recognised it straight away. Now the question is often been asked is, well, how long will the legend last? Legends exist because societies make use of them to talk about their own time. And so the answer to that question is another one. How long is a piece of string?
To be able to commemorate the 140th anniversary of the siege is bittersweet for family members. A sad reflection of loss, but also one of great pride. Thank you for sharing this virtual commemoration with us. There'll be more posted in the future. If and when you have time to come to visit Glenrowan and Kelly Country, there will always be a warm welcome for you. Thank you.